Well, the SAVE Act is dead. Sorta. Why don't you come around the back porch and we can talk about it? So last summer, the House of Representatives passed the SAVE Act, a piece of legislation intended to give an enforcement mechanism behind the established law prohibiting non-citizens from voting in U.S. elections. It's been the law forever, but there's no national or federal way to enforce that, and the SAVE Act was supposed to fix that. The law passed last July on very tight margins, a 221 to 198, and has not been picked up by the U.S. Senate. Chuck Schumer, the senator, who is pretty much in charge of what gets voted on over there, refuses to even hear the object, the bill, which is kind of crazy because it's already a law. You'd think there should be some way to enforce that. Anyway, this last week, we talked about this earlier on the show, Mike Johnson tried to smuggle the SAVE Act into the continuing resolution, which is intended to allow the government to stay open, spending money that it doesn't have, because they've already spent all of their money. By smuggling the SAVE Act into the CR, the Senate would have to vote on it. And if they voted it down, there'd be a record of who was in favor of illegals voting, because it's right there in the law. Now, Schumer had announced that the whole process was dead on arrival if the SAVE Act was attached. And so this last week, committees over by the House of Representatives are trying to figure out some way of constructing a policy and a proposal that would attract the attention of the Senate while still keeping the SAVE Act attached. On Wednesday, that's the 11th, Senator Massie was in committee and had an absolute banger of a speech. And I want to read a little bit of that here. He said, "The 6 months continuing resolution with the SAVE Act attached is an insult to Americans' intelligence. The CR doesn't cut spending, and the shiny object attached to it will be dropped like a hot potato before passage. I hate to break it to the Republicans, you ain't getting the SAVE Act. This is not going to stay in the bill. It's political theater, folks. We all know where it ends up. We've seen it. I've been here 12 years. I've seen it 12 times. I refuse to be a thespian in this failure theater." Which is pretty harsh words, but Massie has a point. The fact of the matter is that even if the SAVE Act had been attached and the House voted on it, the Senate has already announced that they're not interested in it. And so the version of the CR that the Senate passed without it would have to be reconciled with the House version, and something's got to give. The SAVE Act would probably be pulled out from that. This is especially true when you consider the fact that the White House has already announced that they'd veto the thing if it went there with the SAVE Act attached, which makes you wonder what our White House is doing for the people. Anyway, when you consider those sort of things, the whole prospect is dead on arrival. And that's really unfortunate, because the 6-month CR is going to put the whole business past the last time that this whole budget was on the table, or partial budget was on the table. A line item in the last bit of legislation stated that if a CR was to go on for more than 6 months, that would trigger an automatic 1% cut across all government spending in all departments. And that would have been a significant step toward fiscal responsibility. The fact that this CR shortcuts that whole prospect has led people like Massie, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, and like Corey Mills from Florida to really speak out against the way the CR is unfolding here. Because the fact of the matter is the government needs to find ways of spending less money. Otherwise, it's going to really drive up inflation and hurt the common people. But that's not happening this time. The SAVE Act is dead in the water from the Congress to the White House, and it won't be picked up before this Congress is over. It might be picked up after the elections, but who really knows? Well, that's the view from my back porch. Hopefully you guys found it interesting. If you have comments, please go ahead and leave them below. Like and share this video around, and subscribe to the channel if you find it something that you'd like to see later. Until next time, that's the news from the back porch.